Hi, this is Haley Bernhard, and this is my Assignment 13 Families video about conducting parent-teacher conferences with diverse families. So in terms of information that you would want to consider when planning family interactions with in a multicultural setting are things like language barriers, communication styles, family dynamics, scheduling difficulties if parents work shift work, or if it's difficult for them to get to a conference at a particular time that you might be available. It may be something that needs to be addressed in terms of when you would be able to meet with them. Religious considerations and also educational backgrounds. All of these things can have an impact on the ways that families and teachers interact, and that's something that should be strongly considered by a teacher before parent-teacher conferences take place. So the first family I'll talk about is a family that immigrated to the United States from the Dominican Republic about a year ago. The parents both completed secondary education but are not fluent in English, and a Spanish language translator has been requested for this meeting. Both parents work shift work, so scheduling the meeting was a challenge as they both wanted to be present, but their schedules made this difficult. They have 2 children. The youngest is in this second grade class and has been performing well. The student has mentioned going to church during class discussions, so I can assume this family is religious. As a teacher conducting this conference, I would be sure to have a translator present during the conference to ensure that the parents and I were sharing and understanding the same information. I would have handouts, paperwork, and any recommended resources printed for them in Spanish, and would go over the content of the paperwork with them at the meeting to ensure that they understand the information. This paperwork could be anything from how to access school portals, assessment information, a list of Spanish language resources, or reading suggestions for their children. I know from researching Dominican Republic culture that family is very important to the culture, and I can use this context to ask if the family has any extended family that their children interact with, and I can suggest ways to encourage story sharing, literacy activities, or educational activities to involve the whole family. I would make the meeting space as welcoming as possible, of course, and try to refrain from using too much terminology or jargon that would be unfamiliar to the family, but would speak to them as equals, both in terms of knowledge level and in terms of being highly invested in their child's well-being. In terms of sharing information about the student's progress, I would likely want to have a student portfolio prepared to share with the parents so that they can visually see the work that their child is doing without having to read results from test scores or assessments. Obviously, if there were assessment scores or information that was relevant to their child's education, I would share this with them in printed Spanish form so that they can bring it home to review as necessary. A portfolio would help the parents understand the work that we are doing in the classroom and the ways that their child's skills have developed or are anticipated to develop. The second family I will talk about is a family from China who moved to the United States 2 years ago. The parents and 2 children moved along with the mother's parents, who live with them and assist in child rearing. The parents are bilingual and speak Chinese and English at home, but the grandparents of the children speak only Chinese. Because the grandparents care for the children after school, the grandmother would attend this conference along with the parents, who have indicated that they could translate for her. And the parents are both college graduates. So to prepare for this conference, I would again make sure the meeting space was as welcoming as possible and ensure that we have enough seating and table space for everyone attending the meeting, because there would be an additional person that typically might not be attending it in American culture. I would speak to everyone directly at the meeting and give time for the parents to translate our conversations for the grandmother. I know from researching Chinese culture that elders are treated with respect and deferment, so I can understand in advance that the grandmother may play a large and important role in this meeting. Therefore, having as much information available in Chinese as possible would be a good way to ensure that she feels respected and included in this process. Again, a portfolio would be a good way to ensure that to share the student progress with the family, as they would all be able to see and understand the type of work in progress that we're making in the classroom. Assessment results or test scores would be shared as relevant and would be translated and printed if possible for the grandmother to review, as well as for the parents to take home and review as necessary.